Welcome to Conceptwellbeing, the podcast, where the intention is well, but let's be for real. Life gets a little chaotic, and so do we. And that's totally fine. It's fine. You're fine. I'm fine. We're literally fine. And we're all about finding the balance while staying honest with health, wellness, and all the juicy topics that matter. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Conceptwellbeing, the podcast where the intention is well. My name is Jade, and I'll be your host for today's episode. And today's episode is all about the concept of beliefs. And I'm sitting down with Kevin White, coach, healer, and co-founder of Belief Crew. He's someone who built success in tech, but then had to unbuild it all in order to step into his actual purpose. And that's what we're unpacking today. The lies that we're taught, the beliefs that we inherit, and the bold work of choosing different, even when it means letting go of who you thought you had to be. Let's get into it. Okay, so let's jump right in. Kevin, do you want to kick us off with a moment?
Yes. So I guess I'm going to share a failure moment. Just in the last year and even recently, I've gone deeper into the emotion that I'm holding on to in my body and not realizing that it's still there. Just from a standpoint of there's a lot of maybe some of your listeners that do a lot of work, right? And I've done work for years on releasing emotions and releasing beliefs, and you'll hear some of that in the podcast today and what we talk about and what we demonstrate. Yet I still have parts of myself that I'm not listening to very well, right? And so, yeah, I guess the what I'm learning from this is just to it's so tempting after you've done some work for a while to be like, cool, I'm good in that area. And really, uh, I'm a 1-3 in the human design. So as a 3, what I'm learning and sharing with you is that it doesn't really help us to be like, okay, I'm good, right? Like we want to understand that we are amazing and we love ourselves and understand all the ways that we are, yeah, we're just awesome and we want to love ourselves completely. Yet saying, well, I've worked on that area and I don't need to go back there again and I think I'm good, that doesn't help us. That kind of limits us from the outset. So I wanted to share that at the beginning.
Thank you so much for sharing your failure moment with me. I think I'm going to share, I was trying to figure out if I wanted to share a failure moment or like a wellness moment, but I kind of think they go together.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pick two and we'll just do a combo. Mine is very much been, I'm navigating like being like an entrepreneur and like doing my business and everything like that. But I was also traveling a lot. And I think it was just a bunch of new things all at the same time that I was experiencing. I I would say I like grew up in corporate America where, I spent all of my 20s in corporate America. So I'm used to the structure and how to navigate politics in corporate America. And now I had this opportunity to be like, okay, no, you could be free, work off vibes. Like you don't need all of that structure. And I will say I kind of went like completely wild with it where it's completely vibes. And I think that that was really fun for the first couple of months. But I think the person that I am is very much like, I need a routine. I do need structure in order for me to feel like I'm moving forward. And I started to realize it's not that I was just vibing, like just like laying down vibing. It was like, I felt like because this is my business and I was so excited to do all of these things, it was just, I didn't have structure while I'm doing these things. So it was like, I was doing a bunch of things, but it felt like I was just very scattered and it didn't make me feel good. And I think now I've taken the time to just understand who I am as a person and who I am. I love waking up at like 11 in the morning, but
Yeah.
I do need a little bit of structure. And so the last like maybe 2 weeks, I have been really structuring my calendar and like each day has a designated day for what I'll be working on. Cause before it would just be like, oh, I'm going to do this. Oh, I remember I need to do this. Oh, I need to do this. And it was just it was just all over the place. So now I feel more focused and I feel like it's better for my business, but also for my brain because I feel like I'm actually getting things done and I'm actually able to focus. So originally that was a fail. Like I was just all over the place. And now I think I corrected myself and I'm able to provide more structure. And I learned that I really do like structure. Not too much, but like a general outline of a structure. So that is my moment.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Thank you. But I am super excited for our chat today about beliefs. I think let's hop into it. Kevin, let's start off I think with just explaining what is a belief and how does that shape a person's life?
Yeah, so um, as far as like we think about beliefs, belief is something, well, it's, I guess I think about this so much, but yet like to come up with the words, it's a little tough, right? Like a belief is what we believe in, right? I guess that is simple to put it very simply. So let's think about like our subconscious as having beliefs, right? So when we're prior to 7 years old, and this is pretty well known by most people, but just in case it's not, I'll go over that. Prior to 7 years old, everything is our fault, somewhere between 6 and 8, And so anything that doesn't go well, we put a safety belief in our subconscious saying, when I ask mom for too much in the morning, she doesn't show up on time at night, right? Like we correlate things that may not be true and make it about us, like make it our our fault. And consciously, the way we're communicating with our parents and stuff would be very different, but subconsciously, that's what's happening. And so, what beliefs are like limiting beliefs specifically are beliefs that served us from a safety standpoint at some point, at least from our perception, but now are not helpful for us to step into our calling or our business or our daily life.
And before you were doing the work that you are doing now, you were very successful in the life that you were living before, but you didn't really like feel it. Can you kind of take us back to that belief system that you were in and how that kind of made you feel about like performing success, but not actually like really embodying it in like your soul?
Yeah, I would say, there's like a difference between like corporate success, right, and real success, which in my opinion, it's going to include everything, right? Like our whole life. So I was succeeding in work in a lot of ways, and maybe partially just because people could see things in me like my leadership that I didn't necessarily see, and so then they would see that and give me opportunity, and so I'm thankful for that. However, I wasn't really connected to my family or my wife or even my life to a big extent. So the belief system really that's behind all that is actually the world is dangerous, which I found out later when I first started my journey around when I did some hypnotherapy. I found out that I came into the world with that feeling like the world is dangerous.
How did you kind of like morph that life into the work that you're doing now with the Belief Crew?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's several different iterations, I guess, over time. Started really searching in 2015, and my wife had started her own growth process, I would say, between 2012 and 2014. And then by 2014, 2015, she was like starting to challenge me, like, hey, are you going to join me or are you going to just be a resistor to all this? And starting to establish her own boundaries because I was an addict and she was an enabler, right? And so we have a podcast called Business Addicts, or we had, it's still out there, but we don't put any more episodes on it. That goes through that whole story. And so yes, there was layers to that. I think one of the big, or there was different levels. That one of the big things was when I quit my job. I realized within that first few weeks that I was like addicted to work. I had started working at 11 with 2 paper outs and worked on a farm. I grew up in Iowa originally and worked for a local farmer with all kinds of different chores for him. And then I got into, as soon as I could drive, I had two jobs. I had a drafting job and a dishwashing job. And then right through college, I worked full time. So it was like I always was working. And from 11 until, you know, 42 or whatever it was when I quit my job. And so, yeah, that was a big awakening. Like, what do I do now that I don't have a job? And
Hmm.
I started to get a lot of anxiety. And that's when I started to search for what I needed to do. And I found someone that did hypnotherapy and began a little deeper healing, I would say, at that point.
I think that you touched on something that a lot of people go through or experience, which is we work super hard. Like, that's just kind of, at least in the West, what we're used to. Like, we're used to being like driven and super strong, and like burnout. It's something that we're kind of all trying to navigate. What limiting, what limiting belief do you think is kind of hiding under that identity that we're used to?
I think one of them, so this is, I mean, you're talking about something that's like cultural, right? And actually, I just learned some of this. I'm learning more. I live in Mexico today, and I'm learning more about like Latin cultures and like Spanish and people from Portugal as well, like that settled these different Latin areas. And if you think about like in America, it was so based on land. It was so based on accumulation of something, right? Like something of value. And so I think our culture in America is so driven by the results and by doing. And so the idea that we need to do to be valuable, like we need to complete things to be valuable, is a belief that doesn't serve much. I understand there's like people that are so good at finishing things, like tenacity, like they have that gift of tenacity. And so those people, it probably, I mean, not that it would be determining their values, but they, their focus is on doing. And that's probably pretty good for them. Like it's their gift, right? But for the rest of us that don't have that gift, not not a great focus for us.
I agree. I fully agree. I kind of want to go back to the beginning where you were talking about like childhood, our childhood beliefs, and how that really shapes us. If we have a childhood belief, how do we even begin to like unpack that? Like, especially if we have a belief that isn't serving us now in our adult life, but we've been praised for it, or it makes us feel safe. How do we navigate that?
Yeah, so when we're looking for beliefs that we want to release, like everything we're talking about today is based on the fact that we get to choose who we want to be. Like I have all this stuff inside of me, but I don't have to keep it. I get to choose, right? So I have sovereignty over myself. I get to choose. So when we're finding these beliefs is typically when there's an issue with the belief, right? Like, well, I don't know of an example off the top of my head, but like, can you help me with a positive belief that might, like, that appears to be positive that might not serve us as like an entrepreneur or an influencer
Let me think. A positive belief that I have about myself or just in general?
about ourselves or anything?
I think a positive belief would be that you need to be extroverted in order to
Mm, yep,
succeed.
yep. So maybe within our family, we were the extrovert and it was comfortable for us and we are encouraged to be extroverted. And then we get out in the real world and we realize, wait, there's like extreme extroverts, and I actually get a little more energy in a safe environment without a bunch of people. All right. So we think we're extroverted, we think we need to be. Yeah, that's a good example. So when that happens and you go out in the world, and say you're networking and you've got 200 new people and maybe you don't even know anyone there, and suddenly that belief that's almost like forcing you to be out there and to express yourself very eloquently, quickly, etc., is building up anxiety to the point where you're barely able to talk to someone, then you know, like, okay, there's a problem here. And so we're not going to necessarily like just search in our head and be like, okay, what are all the beliefs that don't serve me now? It's more like we have situations that bring that to us, and then we're like, oh, okay, I hear that. I understand that I have a belief that is not serving me anymore. I need to deal with it.
And how does a person deal with it? Like, let's say, okay, I figured out that this belief, I was able to identify the belief, right? Because that would be kind of like the first step is being like, oh, you know what? This doesn't serve me anymore. Then the next step would be, okay, I need to rewire this belief. How does a person do that?
So I guess the way I do it is using like a theta healing approach where I'm working usually, I use the same approach whether I'm working on myself or someone else. And so what I'm doing is letting the words come to me uh, in kind of like two different types of beliefs. Like I must behave in this way, or I can never behave in this way. So I'm looking for, so I think there's other ways. Like you could say, I'm afraid of people, let's say, and where can I feel that in my body, right? And if we could identify where it is in our body, we could say, okay, so say I feel that in my heart area. Then I could say, can I identify the color or how it feels? Like describe it. Is it a circle? Is it a square? Whatever. And if I can connect to it in that way, then I can usually say, okay, I'm going to draw that. I'm going to let that exit my body. I'm going to see if it can change at all to demonstrate that I have power over it. And then I'm just going to let it go. So that's one way that wouldn't require any training is identify it in your body and believe that you can let it exit and then let it go.
Okay. All right. I'm not gonna lie to you. That one, it sounds really cool, but I think that for me, like I'd be like, how do I feel it in my, what does it feel like in my body? How do I
Yeah.
know what it feels like?
Yeah, so I would say it's really helpful to work with someone else to get started on finding beliefs because whatever the method is, you're going to learn from witnessing how they do it for you. And this is also, it's really hard to do for ourselves. Like, not necessarily, I think we can recognize some of them they might be obvious, but it's going to be a little harder to get the exact message and wording that we're using in our head.
Okay. Okay, so I need professional help is what I'm hearing. Got it.
Yeah,
That checks
yeah.
out. That's on theme for me. Do you think that in order to shift a belief, you have to feel safe, or do we create safety by shifting the belief?
Okay, so safety and fear are interesting. What I think about when I think about fear is like there's a book called The Gift of Fear, and I encourage everyone I know, all the women in my life, to read that book and to get familiar with the fact that our instinct, we want to listen to that fear, right? Like if you're walking down a dark alley at night and you hear something behind you, you need to run. And we want to listen to those basic instinct fears, right? Those are good. But every other fear is only attracting, like, fear is a very low, heavy energy. Like, death would be, I don't know, 15 hertz, let's say. Fear, I'm just making this up, I don't know the numbers, but is going to be like 50 hertz, right? So love is going to be like 600. So there's a huge difference between fear and the energy of fear. And what fear does is it attracts more heavy things that we don't want. Um, what we are actually designed to exist in love completely. Like the core, we are love. The core of us is love. And we have unlimited access through our crown chakra to the source of love. And then we have unlimited access through our root chakra as long as we're appreciative of our environment to the love that's in the earth. So technically, we have we're set up and designed to succeed. But those limiting beliefs are exactly what cause issues and blockages. And if you think about a path through the top of your head all the way through the bottom of your feet, and you think about love flowing through all of you, then, and if that happens in life, you're going to be very successful because you already natively know how to navigate anything without teaching. We don't need, like, we just need some experience sometimes, but we don't need like 20 years of school to navigate life successfully. That's the theory. But when all those limiting beliefs come up, then it's blocking that good energy, and then we get anxiety and fear. And anxiety is really just fear that's about the future, something that's coming towards us. That's anxiety.
Yeah. Me and anxiety, we know each other real well.
Most of us do.
Yeah. Do you think that like the fear or the anxiety might block what a person is supposed to be really doing in life? Like, let's say, for example, I wanted to, I don't know, build a house, but I got anxiety about it. But my original like purpose was to build this house. Would the anxiety or fear just completely throw me off track of what I was supposed to be doing or like my purpose in life?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it will, our deepest fears will be exposed the more with our deepest callings. Are you familiar with the book The Hobbit?
I haven't.
No. Okay. All right. That's the best example. I mean, you can see this in all kinds of writings where the hero, let's say, has some type of calling, right? And in that calling, they have no idea how to accomplish it. And that's pretty much the way we find ourselves too when we step into a space of we are the business or we are the calling, and we recognize that we have complete control to navigate that part of our lives. I mean, if we're working a corporate job, we don't have to define the vision for the company. We don't have to define, usually, unless we're a leader, we don't need to even define the vision for our department. We hardly need to define the vision for what our work is. So we're kind of just showing up and we get to do whatever. But when we do like a calling or a business, and that's what I work on is calling based businesses, then suddenly everything is based on us. And we need to connect to basically the deepest part of us to understand even what it is that we're called to.
Yeah. I think that that sounds like exactly what I'm working through right now, where it's just
Hmm.
like, okay, Jade, you have this calling. Like it's a very spiritual experience to be like an entrepreneur, but then also like to do something that you know that you're called to. It's deep. It's yeah,
Yep.
there's yeah, we'll put that one on the back burner. So, can I ask you, is there a belief that you see most people feel or that like pops up the most in your work?
Yeah. I would say that the hardest thing for most people is to love themselves.
Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
Or was that your mic drop?
Yeah.
You're like, that's it. It's just to love
Yep.
yourself.
I mean, it is a mic drop. It's hard because, like, why would we not learn to love ourselves? But over time, we generate some type of relationship with ourselves, usually based, maybe deepest, based on our core wound that and we envision ourselves as not powerful in some way, right? And then we justify that we get to judge ourselves as being deficient because of the evidence that we've developed in our life. And so that's the most common and deepest. I can't remember this quote off the top of my head, but there's a quote online that the deepest fear is not that we are limited. The deepest fear we have is that we're powerful beyond measure. And that's true.
Yes, I know that quote. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I feel like I've heard it before.
Yeah. So the reason for that is because of how little we love ourselves if we don't develop the love for ourselves.
That's, yeah, that one, I could see that one being a lot of people's thing to struggle with, where it's just like, do you even love yourself? I think also like loving yourself and trusting yourself is also At
Hmm.
least
Yeah.
maybe I'm projecting at this point. Like, do you trust yourself to do these things? Is there a belief that you wish people had, like that you want to give people, where it's just like, I wish more people had this belief?
The most powerful belief I know of is I am love. Because if we can get to that, then we can understand that everything else that we've structured or brought into our life and our being is, we can see inside of ourselves if we have that belief that, okay, I'm love. And so all these judgments I have about me are not true. And it helps us let it go if we understand that we are love. Just like there's something where we want to come up with a way to say, to empower someone else with our love instead of ourselves. Like if this person does something for me, then I'm fine, right? Or if I do enough work, then I'm fine, or whatever.
I think that I am love is also like a good affirmation and everything, like
Hmm.
for people to repeat and stuff. So I think that that's a really good one. Thank you for gifting us that one, Kevin. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I feel like this episode has been really helpful, but also has been challenging my beliefs as well, where it's just like, you're right. These are things that I need to work through. So I know that we wanted to go through an example of beliefs that I have been working through and that kind of feel heavy for me. I fear we kind of used it, but it's kind of like the opposite. So when I gave you the belief of like you need to be an extrovert in the world in order to be able to succeed, I think that one belief that I have and one thing that I've been struggling with is I do identify as an introvert. And so while I'm launching my business, not launching, it's launched, but while I'm like working on my business and everything, it is something that pops into my head, I think, as a limiting belief of you are an introvert and it is going to be harder for you to be successful in a world of extroverts. And you need to be able to put on like an extrovert mask in order to be able to be successful. And I don't know if that serves me anymore to think that way.
No, yeah. I mean, one thing, there is a conscious mind plays a role. So you could ask ChatGPT or do some research about very successful, very, like, I don't know off the top of my head, but like talk show hosts or that are introverts. Because one thing that I found in my research is like there's hugely successful people that you've been in front of millions of people for years, right? They are introverts. And so we need to sometimes consciously feed it the right info in too. I want to say one more thing before we get to your example. We That's why coaching works. Is consciously we need to receive good information. And then when we talk about the belief I am love, one thing that's good for us to do is our nervous system, our internal communication in our body, affirmations feed that into our body. But I want to give one other way that you can bring an affirmation in that's very effective, especially for something that's chronic or has been a problem in the past. And this is kind of like an EFT type concept. So you can tap under this point under your nose is your internal change point. So you can tap right here and say, I am love, I am love, I am love 3 times. And then your outside of your palm, this is my left hand, you can tap there, and that is your external change point. So you can say, I am love, I am love, I am love, right? And so you're actually, what you're doing there is you're not feeding that affirmation to your conscious mind, which is powerful and good. We need to do that. But you're also feeding that through that method into your nervous system. So when you have something like one that's pretty powerful is like, I'm calm, confident, and in control. I'm calm. Like if we have anxiety, I'm calm, confident. Now, obviously you can't walk down the street, well, you could, but maybe we
I
don't
mean,
always want to be tapping like this, going walking down the street or in the restaurant or whatever. But like, it's a good way to overcome some of the deeper impulses that are part of our nervous system response. Like every single time that I've been in networking, I behave this way. Well, I would do some affirmations this way before I walked into that room. and that will help my nervous system to show up without the anxiety. So I've processed it beforehand. And then I might be able to. So then the next step is what you're talking about. Like, okay, so I have, as an introvert, is there a belief? And so I'm going to ask you two things. Number one, and I'm going to use the theta healing method for this. Theta healing is, you can look it up online. There's 600,000 people in the world that are certified in theta healing. Well, maybe some of them have died. I don't know how they keep track of all that, right? Maybe they don't check to make
Kevin,
sure.
can you kind of give us just like a little bit of what theta healing is? Just kind of like go a little bit, just for the people who don't know really what it is.
Yeah. So theta healing is a Taoist in America got a download of how to heal. And from a place of like needing it and wanting to help people. So Taoism is an Asian, I don't know if you'd call it a religion, more a way of life that's very focused on love and loving others. And I forget some of the terms. I'm thinking of that yin and yang thing, right? Like balance and love is their focus. So you can look up both of those things. But the basics of theta healing is that we can have access to the universe of unconditional love. Some people call that God. And however you want to think about it, as the universe, as God, as a creator, whatever, that we can go to that place. They call it in theta healing the seventh plane, and connect ourselves to it, and then ask for whatever we need. So when I'm doing this with you, Jade, what I'm doing, I'm going to explain this using, there's another teacher, her name is Cindy Dale. You can look her up. And what she would say, she would describe as what I'm going to be demonstrating here with you is that I'm connecting to you in what she calls spirit to spirit. So what that doesn't mean I'm connected directly to you to find your beliefs. What that means is that I'm connected through unconditional love to you, right? So why we do that is because when we work with people, we don't want to be sending anything from myself to someone else. And we don't necessarily, we also don't want to receive anything directly from them, right? Like
Right.
we want, like actually healing is simply returning things to the way they were meant to be. That's the way to think about it. And what's the power that does that? It's love that does that, right? So what we're doing is connecting to the way things are meant to be for us. You could call it like the divine pathway. And then asking for or receiving. In my case, what I'm going to be doing is using my gift of healing to receive the message of what your belief is. And then I come back to you and I say, do you want to release this? Does that help?
Yeah, that helps. I'm like, thank you for explaining it. I'm stoked. So this sounds really cool. All right, let's do. Are we gonna do theta healing or did I say it right?
Yep.
Theta
Yep.
healing right now. Okay, we're into it. Let's
Sure.
get into it.
All right. So we need to do two things. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to ask you, and I'm looking for a yes on these unless you want to understand something more. Like, can I send unconditional love and total healing into every part of your being? And that's the way we start our session.
Yes.
And when you say yes, you are declaring to the universe, I want this, or
Hmm.
I wanna let go of this, or whatever the yes stands for. So first I'm going to say so I have this might be hard to understand, but basically you're gonna see my head go in a circle a little bit because I have a gift of a pendulum in my head. So some people use a pendulum, some people use sway testing, they use different ways to connect to their intuition to get a yes and a no. So
Hmm.
what I'm going to start with is just making sure that your yes is yes and your no is no. If not, then I'm going to get the wrong answers. So, um, so I'm going to say, "Hi Jade, yes." Is Jade yes? Get a yes. That's good. What is your no? No. All right. So I know that you are that I'm getting the right messages from you. And
Okay.
then now we're looking for a belief that has to do with you feeling like you need to be an extrovert to succeed in your business. Is that what we're
Okay.
looking for?
I don't know if it's, I feel like it's extrovert, but more so like put myself out there more. So is there like an in
hmm
between of that? Like, or is that extrovert?
So what I'll do is just connect to anything that's in the frame of whatever's in the highest and best good for you right now to release around being more visible. Let's say it that way instead of,
Okay. Yeah,
you
that's
know.
good.
So, and a lot of times I should have grabbed a piece of paper. A lot of times I write it because it's like it just comes through your hand sometimes pretty easily. But I'm going to ask a question like, is it a sin to be visible? I get a no. Is there an issue with being visible? Is it an obligation to be visible, or is it something you must do? No. The obligation to be invisible. Yes. Yeah, so it's actually the first belief I'm finding is like I'm obligated or I must be in the background.
Everything that you did for, I don't know if like the powers were just like pause the internet, but I don't know what
You
happened.
lost it?
Yeah,
Okay.
but like what happened? What was the,
Okay. Okay. What I got was I'm obligated to be in the background.
so I'm supposed to be in the background.
Yep. So
Okay,
that's
that,
one. So no, I'm also gonna check for any conflicts. Like I'm obligated to put myself out there too. So that can be a conflict where it's like that's what creates anxiety is when you've got two beliefs that actually conflict each other. Like it's
hmm
like, well, I've got to be this and I got to be this and I can't be both. So our subconscious mind doesn't audit this. It's like in one situation, it's like I got to put myself out there, and in the next situation, I need to be in the background, and we just keep adding them.
hmm
So it's much more powerful to let go of a conflicting limiting belief, like two of them that conflict, than just letting go of one single one.
yeah, that makes sense. So I'm, just to clarify, I should be in the background instead of like front and
hmm
center.
Yeah, I
Huh.
mean that came from somewhere, right? Like it wasn't necessarily. So I do want you to sit with like, what do you feel about them? Like, do you feel like there's any truth to I need to be in the background for
I
anything,
think
right? It
I
doesn't have to
like
be,
being in the background. Like it's
yeah.
easier for me and I feel comfortable there and I know I work better in the background. Like I can do work by myself, but like the moment I have to like put myself out there, it's just like, okay, here we go. We're going to do the
hmm
thing. It's like a whole like production in my head and stuff like that. So I think that maybe it's a relief to hear that. But so that's my thought. Like I think that I need to be in the back.
Yep, yep.
Huh.
And I'm
Okay,
also
so this, wait, hold on,
okay.
Kevin. So this is my belief. I believe I need to be in the background, but is that what's true?
No, no, absolutely not. So that's what we're gonna do next
Okay.
is so we're gonna so we found two. I mean we could keep going and do more, but maybe for the expediency of time, we just start with these
Mhm.
two. And the other one was I'm obligated to put myself out there. And
Mhm.
so what I would do is I'm going to ask you to, can I help you release, or can we, everyone that's involved here, all spiritual people that are helping us with this, release those two beliefs for you?
Yes.
Okay. And then I want to get one where I'm going to say what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is release those beliefs, let them process out of your body. We're going to teach you, we're going to download the most positive beliefs that are supportive of you. Like, I I love to connect to the moment and do what's necessary for the moment. I love to
Mhm.
be present, right? Something like that. So we'll ask for whatever is the most powerful beliefs to replace those limiting beliefs. Then we'll ask for you to be taught what's possible with the good beliefs, and also that you like have always known and already know how to operate with these powerful beliefs. You that it's safe to be without the limiting beliefs, and then we will send this to your ancestors in thankfulness for, and like just give them the truth about anything that's related that's been passed on to you. And then I think that's about it. So can we do all of that for you?
Yes, I approve. Yes.
Okay, thank you. And then usually there would be some type of response. So for me, a lot of times it's yawning, coughing, or burping. Those are all like release signs of energy.
Hmm.
So in that case, I I had a little bit of a burp. So then what we do is we say, so I am Jade. Yes, I do I still have the belief that I need to put myself out there? No. Do I still have the belief that I need to be in the background? No. So we know
Is it
that
gone?
they're now what technically they're gone from your subconscious, but what happens is they're leaving your body, right? So they're
Okay.
leaving both your physical body and your energetic body. And so um, it takes a little time to do that. So when you first start doing this type of work, now you've done, I mean, I had an experience with you yesterday doing uh, a sound, what'd you call it, a sound bath?
Sound bath?
Yeah. So I know you've done work before, and that type of clearing that you have in a sound bath is going to be similar to what you're experiencing with letting these beliefs go. So very likely,
So
you
I'm
know,
gonna cry.
I mean, I just want to acknowledge that there's something happening in your body after you let them go, right? Like it's
Okay.
letting that energy go out through your aura. And just like it is in the sound bath too, it's like there's a process, right? And so the typical responses are we can be a little more tired the next day. Sometimes our body is like, hey, you have a bunch more of these that have been hurting me. And it's like, okay, can you take care of these? And it kind of presents them in pain, like in a form of pain or whatever. And so just to be aware of that and to support ourselves, the best thing is drink more water, like you told me yesterday. It's, get a good night's sleep. And sometimes when we do deep work, like where we find, I don't know, 20 beliefs or so, we need to actually have the day off the next day because
Well,
it's
okay.
quite a bit.
I will, because you told me to, Kevin. I'll take the day off. I'm not
Really?
gonna fight it. So yeah, I mean, it's Friday too, so why not? Why not?
Okay. Well, I mean, just a couple of beliefs, I think it'll be fine, especially because you've done it before. But I just, like, in general, want to say that, so we can understand what's possible when we start connecting to these beliefs. And part of that is because we're learning in that process as we're letting it go to, part of it is forgiving ourselves that we ever had it, right? Like,
Hmm.
that's part of that process of letting go. So,
Yeah. I think that this has been so cool, Kevin. Thank you so much. Excited to see how like I move forward and stuff like that.
mhm.
Like I said, I'm gonna take tomorrow off. Like you talked me into it. You twisted my arm.
Yeah.
I I think that this has been really so helpful. Can you tell like the listeners if they want to have you be a coach for them, like where can they reach out to you and find you and work with you?
Yeah, easiest way the place where we do the most work is on LinkedIn. We're usually working with entrepreneurs that are in a calling-based business. If you are not an entrepreneur and you want help in this way, you can still reach out to me on LinkedIn or either under Belief Crew or Kevin White or Jamie White, and you should see that we're connected to Belief Crew. And I will get you someone that can help you. I know a lot of people in this space. We have a team of healers that work with us and for us. And so we have access to people that, say work with women exclusively or work with corporate people exclusively. So I can find someone that's right for you. I will say that what my wife and I do is work with entrepreneurs that are calling in a calling based business.
Okay. And I will be sure to link like your all of your contacts in the description box below.
Thank you.
So if anyone wants to reach out to Kevin, y'all know where to find him. But thank you so much, Kevin, for chatting with me. I had so much fun and I learned so much. With that being said, we will wrap up the episode. So thank you, all listeners, for listening. I hope that you enjoyed and I hope that you're well.